impact on the community, but it takes all of us to be a great place. So I'm going to split this into development first and have any questions there, and then go into parks. This is just an organizational chart to show the two departments. We have the development department on the left, parks on the right. We're two of the smallest departments in the city. 16 full-time staff combined between the two. Myself and the project coordinator function between both departments, but we're budgeted out of the development department. I'm going to talk a couple times on some requests within the budget. We've talked the last 3 or 4 years at least on horticulturist position within the Parks Department, so just going to touch on that and the need for that. And then just on the development side, what a seasonal position could do for that. But yeah, again, 8 full-time in development, 2 full-time positions in the Parks Division, 2 full-time in the Forestry, 2 full-time rec golf course, and 2 full-time in the Recplex. And then we rely on 45 to 55 seasonal positions throughout the year to actually function within those divisions. Without those staff, we wouldn't be able to operate what we have because we are just such a small department.
What was that? All right, she's got it fixed. Go ahead.
Like others have mentioned, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we do and why we do it. We do feel that development and Parks and Recreation are core city services. They protect and maintain Burlington's neighborhoods, public spaces, long-term investment. We try and do that proactively. Sometimes that's hard with our staffing to do that. So there is some reactivity to what we do, just based on ability with the staffing levels to do what we want. But we do serve the entire community and hopefully reduce some of the costs through early intervention and promote that quality of life and community pride that are goals within our strategic plan. So starting off with Development Department, our mission is to improve the safety and appeal of our community through high-quality customer service and consistent code enforcement. That's not an easy job on a daily basis, especially the code enforcement part, dealing with nuisances, rentals, sometimes building inspections, or people wanting to do something that may be outside of our code and trying to work through that process with them of what's required by code, what's expected, and what that impact is on the community. There's 2 budget items within the Development Department. The 1301 is Building Code Administration. That has 6 full-time staff in that. And then the 1401 is Planning and Zoning. That has 2 of the staff budgeted within that. These are just going to touch on a couple of these slides. You can review them or read them at your own leisure. But the job duties, some of the job duties within Development Department, to save lives and property, to protect health and safety, to coordinate projects within the department and within the city. It's not just inspections and compliance. These are frontline operations that have an effect on preventing neighborhood decline, ensuring safety of our community, and reducing long-term city costs, especially on the nuisance or rental side, trying to maintain homes and properties where they don't become something that we're having to demolish or acquire and put time and resources in down the road. And then 2 of the primary functions of what we do, building and neighborhood safety and community appearance and desirability. The Development Department, through our staffing, through our operations, have a direct impact on that. And then as we get into the CIP programs, that'll touch on that as well, what the impact of those programs are and what the value of those programs are to our community. And then the strategic plan goals. Community development's a broad department, has an impact on a number of the strategic planning goals, some a little bit more direct, working on housing improvement program and vacant building plan to hopefully bring back to council for consideration or input here in February, early March. Exterior condition inspection plan, but then some of those other ones, beautification strategy, quality of life, certainly have an impact on that through what we do. So a couple of the, I guess, 2 different items that we look at in the general fund. The program building inspections, that's not just building inspections, new construction, that's also rehab, remodel, redevelopment, and rental, nuisance inspections, and nuisance abatement. Those are 2 of the primary functions that are visible and we see that have a direct impact on the community. And then some of the programs within the CIP funded through local option sales tax that we'll talk about further as well. Demolition, housing rehab, sidewalk program, neighborhood improvement, and community development program. And we've had those in the budget for quite a while. We're just now getting through, and we'll talk about them later, with the housing rehab through the Saunderson project that we're able to implement a program. Demo, we've seen kind of go up and down over the years, and just the cost of doing a home. I know I presented previously, there's probably 15 to 20 homes that potentially could be demolished. Generally, we go after those first through 657A and see if they're able to be rehabbed, and then move into demolition as needed. But with the cost of demolition, $15,000 on average a home, it doesn't get very far. So. And then some of the projects that we work on just to improve the community for residents and those that may want to move here or live here. That abandoned property acquisition and sale, as we've seen, especially recently, selling some of those homes, getting them back on the tax rolls, getting them fixed up. We've had some good success with that. That is dependent on developers, builders willing to do that. And we've had some that have been very successful in that. But it also stabilizes some of those neighborhoods, property value, appeal, and just desirability in those areas. Work on grant project administration, the City Academy coming up, on the Great River Housing Trust, Earth Day, just a variety of different things that help to make Burlington a better place to live, work, and play. Talking on nuisance enforcement in particular, this is one of, I guess, two items within the operational budget that we've requested increases in. Currently, we have $160,000 line item budget for nuisance abatement. That's 1301-529, requesting $210,000 this coming fiscal year. Costs have increased in the last couple of years, partly due to larger, more complex abatements. We've done quite a few full-on cleanups of properties that have been, maybe we've addressed them a little bit here and there over the years, but getting them to completion and trying to move on from those properties so that we have them completely abated, cleaned up, and not getting those constant calls. We've seen some abatements that have been in the $3,000 to $5,000 range just from the amount of trash, junk, debris that have been stored on a property, sometimes visible, sometimes in piles. Hazard tree removals, we still are seeing those, whether those are ash trees or others. Those are definitely a safety hazard. We're not wanting just to leave trees that can fall on public property, streets, right-of-ways, other neighbors' homes. Those are ones we have to address. Contractor pricing, like a lot of other things, that isn't what it used to be. Used to be able to mow a yard for $20, and now it's $50, $100 minimum. So it's things that affect the budget. And just in the last year, I'd say the 210 is probably more in line with to be able to do what we want to do, unless we want to stop doing nuisances December 1st or January 1 and pick it up again in July 1, then I guess that's essentially just covering our costs to do the work. As I'll show in a report here, some of our revenue capture is increasing over previous years, so that is collected back as long as those are paid through property taxes and direct payment to the city, and we've seen some increases in that payment back to the city, so it's not a completely lost cost. It is billed back with those administrative fees. Couple just the numbers last year, FY '25, we had 2,000 properties processed, over 2,500 code violations, 186 junk vehicle cases. We get a lot of the complaints, whether they're on the right-of-way or in the private properties, so we forward those on to PD, those on the right-of-way, but that's how many submitted complaints through our system on junk vehicles. 45 dead and dying trees. And then on the rentals, through code enforcement, we had 12 illegal rental cases last year we processed and 42 complaint inspections. This is just a snapshot of trends in the last couple of years that impact the budget. On the building inspection side, you'll see the valuations and collected permit fees. It's really economy-driven, project-driven, especially those large projects. FY '23, we had a school do a $20 million project that impacted the budget. This past year in FY '25, we had a few single-family homes, a couple duplexes, some remodels, some other work. No large project drove that permit fee collection. So you see a $300,000 difference there between the 2 years. This current year, we are up quite a bit. I'll touch on that, I think, a little bit. I think we're up 190,000 this fiscal year over last fiscal year, year to date. So it's not something we really drive other than through making sure our community and our neighborhoods are in good condition that people want to invest. But some of those bigger investments are by projects like Apollo or the school during the auditorium or out at Western Smokehouse. Those are ones that we have to have a community that people want to invest in, and that's part of what we do through development, but also people have to be willing to invest here. Rental inspections has been pretty steady the last 3 years, going to the 3-year inspection cycle. Hopefully make that a little more consistent year over year previous. And we're still within that 3 and 5 year change, so a couple more years and we'll be there. But we did see a little more fluctuation in years based on that 3 and 5 year, and now being a 3 year, I think we can be a little more determined in what we estimate for that. And then nuisance inspections, you can see the fees invoiced and then the fees collected. So we get direct payment here, and then we get it. If people don't pay here, council sees those resolutions, it goes on their property taxes, and then we get that paid through the county. The last couple years, we've had those fees invoiced have been more substantial. That means we've been doing more nuisance abatement, trying to address more properties in our community. And you've seen the collections double from FY '23 to '24 and remain pretty high in '25. This year, we've collected 107,000 of those nuisance fees to date, year to date, so we'd anticipate being probably above that FY '24 number. So we're doing more, but those monies get paid back, not always as quick as we'd like, but over time they are paid back.
That's what our citizens wanted. They want it cleaned up.
Here's a breakdown of the two departments, just their total budgets. Between the two, $1.164 million for building code and planning and zoning, or about 4.5% of the general fund expenses, 3.5% net after revenue collection, so a very small percentage of the overall budget. We certainly feel impactful. As mentioned, the biggest increase is in that nuisance abatement budget. It's gone from 110 to 160 to 210 over the last 3 years, and that's based on the cost of cleaning up the community, addressing nuisances in our community. Building permit revenue, as I mentioned, is project dependent, economy driven. We're up 190,000 in FY '26 over FY '25, so we're at 243,000 collected in building permits currently. Last year through July or June 30th, we were at 155,000. So we've seen more of that development in our community with a couple larger projects that drive that funding. But you see the revenue actuals and then projected. We do try and project out revenues conservatively because we can't always determine. There's been a few years we're in a position we know something's going to happen in the near future, but unless we know that, we're going to try and budget conservatively where we're not way overestimating that we're going to collect 500,000 in permit fees and only get 300,000. This breaks down between personnel, contractual, and commodity. As you see, the personnel cost is the large driver of our budget, like everyone else's budget. One request working through with the number of nuisances we're dealing with, and then with some of the strategic plan goals and programs, was a seasonal intern type position throughout the summer, looking at approximately 12 weeks at $15 an hour on average, would be about $10,000. Help address some of those, especially early in the season, some of those tall grass and weeds nuisance abatements that are very time consuming. where our other staff can focus on some of the larger cleanups, but also help out with some of the programs we'll talk about later, the sidewalk inspection or housing rehab or vacant building identification. So that's one thing that isn't in the budget currently that we would like to request and have consideration or discussion on. And then the other big change within our contractual amount is OpenGov, our permitting system, just that increase. Currently, we're under iWork. So those are the OpenGov and the nuisance abatement are the two primary changes you'll see in the contractual increase from 26 to 27. CIP projects, these are not new, these are continuations. We did increase demo 1 year last year to address some of those that we knew were coming up, but these have been in the budget for a few years, funded by local option sales tax and something we evaluate on an annual basis. The housing rehab program, we'd like to present that to council, some parameters of that here. In the past years, that had been used as match for the Saunderson pilot project, the rehab project in the Saunderson area, which the Regional Planning Commission plans to come here in February to give a recap of that program and the outcomes of that as well. But the housing rehab we've talked about briefly with council, trying to focus on roofing and siding throughout the community. We had a number of homes, a dozen or so homes just in the Saunderson area with some pretty strict income requirements and other parameters that we certainly saw the need in that area, but even with more stringent parameters, there was quite a few people that came forward. The roofing would stabilize the homes and siding improves appearance in the neighborhoods. Obviously, there's a lot of other needs in the community, but that's where the community development at $20,000 annually has gone to the Great River Housing Trust as a match towards their grant. That brings back dollars into our community, $300,000 to $500,000 annually within the 4 counties. But for rehab, internal rehab, efficiencies, furnaces, windows, doors, different things, also down payment assistance. So there are other resources for those greater needs. The sidewalk program, I think we've inspected about 25 miles of sidewalk in the community to date, continuing to try and get that out there to make improvements in the community for accessibility. Neighborhood improvement program, that was one we've had in the budget, trying to focus on some of those nuisance areas. Maybe there's some more incentive we can give neighborhoods or areas that are willing to do some cleanups to focus on that and get resources into those areas. Certainly for these programs, what we're looking to accomplish, the safer neighborhoods, preserving property values, housing stability, walkability and accessibility, and just resident confidence in our city and our community that we're making efforts to improve our community. We are one of the older housing communities in the state. Our housing stock is much older than the statewide average, and needs some work in a lot of areas. You kind of get that ring around the downtown of older homes that if some of them are at a tipping point, if you don't improve them, they're going to become ones we're trying to acquire because they're abandoned or ones we're demolishing. So trying to address those earlier in that process hopefully reduces some of that cost long-term to the city. But overall, just looking at these programs as investments to strengthen our neighborhoods and helping for growth within our community and reducing some of those longer-term costs. Really, this gets down to why people want to live here and pride in our community, reestablishing some of these neighborhoods. Special projects, the previous ones were annual projects. You'll see those at least in the CIP for the next 10 years within the budget. Special projects, comprehensive plan and parks plan. This is one we talked about last year, got moved to this year. We had them separated, so you'll see them just as one line item now instead of one under development, one under parks. I'll talk about them in both, but provide a clear direction for the city, what are priorities, what are projects that we want to move forward, what are policies that are important for council, for the community. So the sooner that we're able to start that, the earlier that we're able to implement that through budgeting in the future.
I'm gonna let you take a breath just for a second. So that is what you were talking about earlier, and you were wishing to split that over 2 years?
Right.
Because the length of time it takes to do it, correct?
Yeah, it's gonna, Eric's indicated that it's gonna take at least 18 months to 2 years anyway. I would rather that be 26, 27 versus 27, 28.
Okay,
And to split that, so I don't book 200,000 in any 1 year, I book 100 in each of 2 years.
okay,
My recommendation would be 26, 27.
okay. Thanks, Eric, go ahead.
And
I just
it-
want to clarify.
Part of that too, obviously, funding has to be there, but the sooner we're able to start, the sooner we're able to get some of those results to use for future budgets and planning. And especially on the park side of things, as we talk about CIP and you see in the 10-year CIP, there's a lot of big projects that have been brought forward, either through staff knowing that they're getting towards end of life, or communities brought forward that we need more input on what our priorities, because they are high dollar items like a skate park or like Starker or Bandshell, and we want to be able to get that input before we're able to really program those into a budget or not program them into a budget. Brownfield cleanup, we approved that application last night, actually. That's a $500,000 project. There's no local match on that, so that is federal grant dollars that we haven't received the grant. We're applying for it, but we want to put it in the budget. So that's one that's a high amount, but there's not local money in that. We
What's
had a couple-
involved in the brownfield cleanup?
There's
Ground- Just the grounds?
this is at the Klein Center. There's an underground tank there. Any asbestos or any other environmental contaminants or
Okay.
impacts on site would get those taken away from the site. Also, I think it'll help in planning for future planning of the site as well, so.
I love how quickly you got on that, man.
Knowing we were gonna apply for it, wanted to have it in the budget. Inspection vehicle, we had a vehicle, FY '25, I believe. We've typically had hand-me-down vehicles, which, for our staff that's gotten them around, it's not been ideal, whether it's getting worked on or leaky, roofs or windows or different things, heat not working. Want quality vehicles for our staff for inspections. They're out and about every single day throughout the year. And these are vehicles for them will last quite a long time, 10, 20 years. They're not ones that get a lot of wear and tear, but we want to make sure they have quality vehicles that can get them around. We appreciate the hand-me-downs from fire and public works and police and everyone else, but I think for our staff and the work that they do, they need something that is reliable, and we're not having to wait for next year to get another hand-me-down. We can plan on having a quality vehicle. Klein Center, that's in FY '28. That's one of those unfunded projects. We've gotten a couple quotes on that. Hopefully it'd be less than that, 750, but a conservative number on that. But it is an unfunded number right now. And then wayfinding signage, we've talked about, we've had that planned for a couple years, trying to work on getting community pride, community direction, knowing how to get through the community a little bit better. You go to some other communities and has signage to the downtown or to the rec center or to the library or to some of the key spaces in our community, and we, just to help guide people around. Those are the development department, kind of through that pretty quick, but any questions on CIP or operations or kind of what the goal or mission is with development?
Questions, concerns?
One question, Eric, on the vacant building plan that you're working on, does that include fees for the
Yeah.
empty buildings?
Yeah, yep. And we've hopefully here, and we've had some staff out, but hopefully here in end of February or sometime in the next month or so, be able to bring something forward and for consideration of, does it make sense to have one? What are some, we've seen Keokuk and Fort Madison have had versions of a vacant building ordinance. There's been some struggles with that, some pushback with that. And so we want to present all that to you and see, is that something we want to move forward with? Does it make sense? And what level of, if so, what level? Because you can do quite a bit of different things with that.
Cool. On the housing rehab, you plugged in 50,000 a year. You said that's being considered for citywide.
We'd probably focus on areas, move it throughout the community, and citywide. Yeah, it's kind of, that's something we'll be presenting to council here in the next couple months as well, what that focus is. 10,000 won't get very far, just from seeing some of those Saunderson housing projects, 10,000 or so for siding, 15,000 for roofing. So want to get those parameters down and see what direction the council would like us to go.
Who do you-
I just put a plug in for it now. If we're looking citywide, I think we ought to consider more than the exterior looks or the how it looks from the street, and maybe the value of what goes on inside on top of that. And I think Chad knows what I'm talking about. We'll have a deeper conversation on that when the time comes.
Yeah, hey, how many, because I know you ramped up the program, any ideas how many houses you've processed this year?
I could get that to you. I don't
You don't have to have it
have
tonight.
that here, yeah.
My point would be, and the reason I'm bringing it up, is because I know we put some heat on staff to get this done, right? You've been very effective at it. And every time I drive around and look at those properties that we're selling at our auctions that we had fun with the other day, it becomes typically, if it's not one of the nicest house in the block, it's one of the nicest after taking a debilitated, horrible-looking place. Man, I'm all about whatever we need to do to get that keep that program going. It's effective.
I guess to that, I can say our staff in the last month, we've started 10 new homes identified that we're taking through the process. Don't know if we'll get them all through that court process, but generally we've been taking about 3 at a time, and now we took 10 in the last month forward to move forward through that process.
Great
So,
job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can attest to the impact it's having on Burlington because I've been traveling a lot lately. I won't name any other community that I've been in, but I'm circling a radius around a town that's comparable to Burlington. And I am seeing all the sore spots and the blighted areas and the things that need work. And then I come home and I'm like, wow, we've made some progress and we're doing good things. So I want that for them too, but I'm glad that we're getting it done. And as far as the wayfinding signs, those are a big help when I travel too, because I'm not always sure exactly where I'm at. And a sign that says this way to downtown or this way to the highway or whatever, it's all a big help for anyone that's not familiar with the area. So.
And yeah, kind of to echo to that, our staff, especially on the nuisance side of things, I think we've seen some big progress in some certain areas of the community, and we'll continue to do that. And that funding's needed to be able to address that, those issues in our community. Hopefully, at some point, we can reduce that back down when we're at a point where we're not identifying as many nuisances, but for the time being, we feel that's appropriate.
Any other questions on development? You want to move into parks?
Yep. Parks and Recreation, our mission there is to enhance the lives of residents and visitors to our community by providing high-quality park and recreation facilities, fun and safe recreation programs, and environmentally sound services. So we have 6 budget code items under Parks and Recreation, Parks Maintenance, Forestry Maintenance, Park Swimming Pool and Recreation Activities for all general fund operations, and then Flint Hills Golf Course and the Recplex are enterprise funds. Showing here the playground project, just the impact that parks can have on our community, and hopefully a lot of you have been out to see that playground or just the community that goes on in that area over the last year and a half or 2 years. One point of data, working with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the 2 years prior to the playground being rehabbed, it averaged about 3,600 visits a year. And that's cell phone data, so that's not kids, that's just parents or guardians that have a cell phone. Maybe it's 5,000 or 6,000 when you add in the kids. But the 2 years prior to this playground being installed under the old playground, it was about 3,600 visits a year. For the 12 months after opening, it was nearly 27,000 visits. So you see the impact that a playground like this can have in our community of bringing people together, having a place that kids and families and people can enjoy, be outside, be active, and just enjoy the parks and enjoy our community.
How many, can I write that number down, Eric? How many visits now?
It was 3,600 visits for the 2 years prior to the playground being rehabbed or redeveloped on average, and the 12 months after is about 27,000 visits
27,000.
through Placer AI, so that's cell phone tracking. So
Yeah.
if you bring 2 kids with you,
Yeah.
and it might be 35 or 40,000. But that shows what impact quality projects like this. We're not going to do a project of this scale in every park, but just a quality place where people feel safe, where it's something unique that they come to, and where we have spaces to gather, even for families or adults outside of the playground area, has a big impact. I'm going to highlight some of this as well. We've talked about just the importance of all the different departments and roles within the city. Certainly see Parks and Recreation far more than amenities. One of the more visible and impactful public services. Just the place where people can be active, can be social, the mental health, the social health, physical health. There's a lot of positives to having spaces that people can come to. Also, when people are looking, have heard quite a few times, especially on the Recplex side of things, when people in businesses have a choice to move somewhere or where they want to live or locate or invest, and what they want to do, what are we offering as a community to ensure that Burlington's the place to be. People that drive by and see the Recplex full on a weekend, whether you're a business or an individual, you see that activity, and that's a place that sparks your interest of, hey, maybe I want to come back here and visit, or maybe that'd be a place if there's an opportunity to move to. So things that make people want to stay here. The parks and some of those amenities, the library and other things are vital to that as well. So some of those things we especially talk on as we're going through park conferences and our cohorts throughout the state, looking at what parks mean to other communities as well and what they mean here. It's not just that outdoor enjoyment or recreation, it's an economic driver. Just direct economics, 90,000 visits to the Recplex and Flint Hills Golf Course alone. You heard Chris Graham talk about one event at the Recplex, the Monster Match. Having that facility, public facility where they can host that, and what that impact, multi-million-dollar impact on our community is. Healthy community, if we can reduce healthcare needs down the road by being active, being outdoors, being involved in sports and activities and different things. Catalyst for community pride. Driving by these spaces, if you drive down Madison and see the lights out there with the playground, or drive by the Recplex and see teams from all over the state or region coming to play, or some of the bioswales or things that have been done on the riverfront to make it more attractive. Places where people can gather and celebrate and have different events. It's certainly a catalyst for the pride in our community. And then just being essential, not optional, as talked about before, Councilwoman Wise mentioning, all of our departments are critical to the operation of the city. I look at all of them as being essential. If we don't have parks in our community, or don't have a library, or don't have building inspections, or don't have police or fire, what is our community? So we have to have all that to make what a community is. It's not choosing one or the other, it's making sure we have space for all of that. I always like to highlight just what we're promoting outside of our community as well, the community guide, some of the amenities in our park system, some of the events we put on, like the bridge race. I think you can barely see the city manager clipped out of the picture there in the top right. But things that we do in the Parks and Recreation Department to make people want to come to Burlington, and what are we showcasing as some of the unique things and interesting things in Burlington. Strategic plan goals, what impact do we have on that? Directly on the trail grant application strategy. The trail master plan, making sure we're reviewing and updating that, getting connections from the Recplex to Dankwart to downtown. We were just notified formally this past week that we received $750,000 for the trail from Summer Street to Madison Avenue to go along with the $125,000 REAP grant we have. So we're pulling in $875,000 to get that trail constructed. And so we see the importance that it is in our community, but also by bringing funding into our community, others see that importance as well, so.
How
Well done.
close are we to getting that completed then?
We have full funding then from Summer to Dankwart Park. In addition to the Summer Street project, we'll have the trail from Mason Road down to the airport. So that'll make that connection. And then that application that we're applying for on Madison gets it further connected to the on-road bike lanes and then eventually get into Dankwart and to Cascade Bridge and down Main Street. So continue one section at a time.
We can have a Burlington Marathon or half marathon,
On the loop?
and do the loop.
We need to work on a bridge over the train tracks then too. Beautification strategies, parks are certainly a leader in that. How we maintain our park and public spaces going forward, that shows to the community what type of community we are. Quality of life in Burlington, I would certainly say Parks and Recreation is quality of life. It is something directly related to that. And as mentioned on the strategic planning, some of the input we got, respondents said the city should invest in projects and programs that enhance the quality of life for all community members, and that can be touched on by all departments, essentially. Some of the considerations we look at through our budget, quality of our facilities and amenities. We do have some older playgrounds, some older facilities that we want to make sure we are maintaining. Some of that is through the operation budgets, making sure we're replacing items that are failing within our facilities, but also through the CIP plan of programming in new playgrounds or new shelters or different things. Staffing, obviously, is the driver for maintaining our facilities. We have added, as mentioned last year again, a lot of new infrastructure. So I'll touch on that horticulturalist position and what that would mean for that. Seasonal employees, as I showed, 45 to 55 employees, that's 4 or 5 times of what our full-time staff is. If we don't have those employees, we're not able to maintain, we're not able to open the golf course or the Recplex. We have to have those employees in order to operate. So what are we doing to be competitive with that? We have raised wages over the last 5 or 6 years to get to a point where hopefully we're competitive. I know we're usually still trailing some of those businesses in our community, but we're in a more competitive standpoint now. It's just we're asking or trying to find employees from March through October where this is their career essentially. This is a 9-month position. We're not offering benefits or a vacation or anything for those employees. So how do we value them and show them what they mean to the city and to our department? We have a couple older facilities, the park maintenance building that we'll talk about here, that's an FY28, and the pool, we're working through the feasibility study now, so we'll talk about those in the CIP. And then just enterprise operations, what impact do these have on our community just beyond their bottom line as well? Certainly bringing in visitors to our community, filling up our hotels on some tournament weekends, shopping, restaurants, all those local option sales tax dollars coming in as well. And then just providing amenities for even our residents for some of those leagues and different things of why they want to be in Burlington. But we are seeing that competition, especially at the Recplex, competition for time and spending with other facilities. There's been a lot of newer facilities since ours opened 26 or so years, 27 years ago, that a lot of smaller communities have those now, and so they're competing. And how far do families want to drive to go to a softball tournament or baseball or soccer? And what are we offering? And I think we've shown the quality of our facility. We've heard that over and over, that people see that quality in our facility, but also we're competing with maybe less quality facilities, but they might be closer to them. So how do we separate ourselves and make sure people are coming back to those tournaments. So again, budget needs, staffing is the primary item within our budget, but we also have to have the equipment in order to maintain what we have. And then looking at our facilities and how do we plan those out accordingly over time to make replacements before they get to a point of failure. Like other departments, looking at that deferred maintenance, we've gotten to a good point, especially in the Parks Division, of what is our schedule for replacement of mowers based on hours used. And they're operational 5 days a week, the entire season. So what is that average usage and what is the replacement before it gets to a point where the repair and maintenance cost outweighs the cost of being down and not having a machine to operate or purchasing a new one. And I think we're to a point now of having a good schedule for that. Horticulturist position, so this is a third or fourth year I've talked about this. Full-time position within the Parks Department, about $85,000 including benefits, plus or minus a little bit. One thing with this, if this position could move forward, we'd see about a $20,000 reduction in seasonal costs. This would replace the gardener position, which has kind of been a rotation over the last 5+ years, but having someone that has that expertise, can do the year-round planning and continuity, training of seasonal staff. So there would be some offset by seasonal cost. I've also talked to Downtown Partners about potential to do some sharing there where there's some watering duties that they're paying someone else for. Could we do that? And that would have to be explored further. But really looking at that maintenance and risk management, it's not an enhancement, it's just how can we maintain what we have going forward? It's getting harder every single year for seasonal staff. Ryan's usually ending the year down 2 or 3 staff people because can't find someone or someone left in the middle of the season and it's too late to hire someone else for 1 month or 2 months or whatever it is. And it's getting to be more and more of a struggle. I know I've talked about it before. It's not something new, but that's just the reality of the Parks Department where we rely so much on seasonal staff, and that seasonal staff position isn't maybe as desirable to as many people anymore. Certainly protects capital investments, and whether it's those bioswales, the plantings in the park that are attractive and enhancements and a pride within our community, but also some of those, as mentioned, bioswales. Opportunity to work with other departments, help with tree planting programs with the Forestry Division. They have 2 full-time staff and 2 part-time staff. So what can we do to assist them in some of their programs and projects where it might take something off their plate as well. The Recplex and Golf Course, we have our superintendents of grounds maintaining some of the facilities where they're more focused on turf grass. Some of the other stuff gets pushed back because it's not a time priority for them. Maybe this person could step in for that. And then looking at nuisance trees, as I mentioned before, the number of nuisance trees that we're dealing with. If it's a hazard tree, generally we're calling out our forester or park superintendent to look at that. Maybe there could be some more collaboration with that. So see a lot of value within the Parks Department, not just within parks, but forestry, Recplex, golf course, even into development. But something, at some point, we're either going to have to reduce what we're doing, taking away some of the different items within the division, or look at adding this position. So, any questions on what that is?
Are the folks at the B Stadium currently caring for their own grounds then, or because
Yeah.
it's the city property, we
No,
help?
we don't.
Don't have
We
anything?
don't work there.
Okay.
No.
We have broached that with them. There's a couple of things. We've made both property maintenance and our park staff available to them through conversation. We just haven't been able to get anything worked out with them on that.
So if you had another full-time position, would they be so tied up that we couldn't help them and relieve some of that? And
We're stretched right now. And
Okay,
just to even
just-
fill our
just a
seasonal
question.
positions.
So you
yeah.
need a full-time
We-
person for you?
That's the goal with this, is
Okay.
to, we're struggling to fill our seasonal needs.
And the-
You'll see in the Recplex, their seasonal levels, just year over year, it's probably 10 or 15,000 less than what's budgeted, because they can't fill those positions. You have staff out there working 60, 80 hours a week sometimes to fill in some of those weekend things. It's a struggle to get seasonal positions.
Yeah, one of
You
the-
The ones we
understand?
do
Yeah.
get, we value those employees. We have some great employees. I don't want to say that we don't get great employees, but to fill everything that we need, we're just not able to get that, and then having such high turnover year after year. Ryan's training those seasonals, or Cody, or whomever is training those seasonals every year, because we get a whole nother batch, maybe we get a couple that come back, and so we're spending a lot of time every year just training to know what to do.
One of
And
the,
then we may be losing them 2 or 3 months later and trying to find someone else.
one of the side costs of the Tiger was we really added a lot of beautification to the riverfront and our sidewalks. But those are all, they're not something that you could just let go, and that's what the
Yeah,
I
I'm on
can't say
board.
that word, the
Horticulturist.
would probably deal with, I would assume, so,
Where- or at least direct that work.
yeah, direct.
It's hard for Ryan to be able to train a part-time person, if we have the part-time person,
A lot of
to go
times-
do that, because some of it's, you gotta be careful with
And there are
what's going
times when a
on.
guy doesn't show up that Ryan's on a mower too.
Right.
mean,
I was
has-
just curious
has
if
to
we were
happen.
diverting some of our energy to the B Stadium already, and we're not, so, okay,
No.
I'm good.
Yeah, let's mention, I think that training's a big part of it. I mean, it's not just going to pull weeds.
Full weeds,
No,
right.
it's a
People-
job, right?
well,
Like
one-
a real,
Not everyone knows what a
real-
weed is, for one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and you need to know the difference.
They have to
between
have
Yep.
literacy of about
This-
plant
Yeah, this would be a
life.
professional position that would have knowledge on plants and
Yep.
trees and everything else.
And I think there's a couple of keys there. One, as Eric points out, the reduction in seasonal cost to balance that. Two, partnering with DPI Main Street. And they approached us on that concept to help with that. And that doesn't mean that this position, if authorized and hired, would actually do that, but it frees up that time for
Well, they would
a
spend time in the other
part-time
parks too.
to
so.
do it. And then just helping out with the things down there at the bottom of the slide, for the forestry division especially. You know, they have such a small staff, but they're on call 24/7 as well when there's storm damage, you know, wind knocks trees down and things. This adds one more person to that rotation as well, so those folks that respond to emergency situations aren't getting burned out.
I guess not to continue on it, but we don't have a rotation for call-ins for forestry. We have 2 guys that called
just
in
do
every
it.
single
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
Just some of the numbers behind what they do on the forestry side, Tree City USA, Tree City of the World. You can see what a quality neighborhood, in our view, looks like with those trees there, and increasing property values and attractiveness to some of our neighborhoods. Planted 157 trees last year. Tree maintenance, doing block pruning, making sure those trees are in a healthy condition. They go through the community, every tree is touched or looked at on a 6 or 7 year basis. They have that's their program. They have a cycle to get through the entire community. Last year, they had nearly 2,200 trees that they touched to trim, manage, and they do that every year. And there's 2 full-time and 2 part-time, 29-hour-week individuals that do that. So they are hustling through the community to try and maintain what we have and maintain that canopy in our community. Some of the projects, Perkins Disc Golf Course, that was private fundraising to make that happen with some support by our park staff. We've seen that great amenity really increase the use in Perkins Park in that area.
do you have any traffic on that one?
Don't right now,
Okay.
we'll see if we can get some, but just, yeah, that's very central park within a neighborhood where Dankert's a little further south. It's maybe more walkable for more people, but it's been a great amenity for that park and getting a lot more users in it, which more users in the park hopefully reduces any potential crime or graffiti or all those other things that maybe go along with some parks that
You know, people at those pickleball courts, from the moment the sun comes up until long after the sun goes down.
Yes.
Still working through Riverside Park lighting. Hopefully that'll start this spring with the contractor. Nancy Navy Park started design concepts on that, and the dog park downtown. Hopefully we can get that. That was previously budgeted out to bid this spring as well. Upcoming items, North Hill Playground. That was requested in last year's budget. Hopefully we can have that funded this year, FY '27, the summer trail connection and the park master plan. So just a highlight of some of the projects. Swimming pool and recreation. Swimming pool is closed, just for those that don't know, but you'll see in the budget, it's a $3,000 budget item. Last year, we had no dollar amount in there. The $3,000, essentially, we have 2 restrooms that are accessible from the outside, cover water utilities in that area. We are underway within the pool feasibility study. As I mentioned, we had nearly 1,000 survey responses. Hopefully, in the next early March, we can bring back some potential concepts, get some additional public input planned, an open house on really guiding direction we want to go with that. Pools are not cheap. We are looking to be as efficient as we can. If it is something that does go forward, that it's reasonable and accommodating to the community of what those desires are. But that'll have to go through that process and really get the community support in order to move forward. Summer camp at Perkins Park certainly fills a need within our community. We see a lot of great activity through that. Safe, active, fun, affordable. Operates out of Perkins Park right now. And then a couple of the programs that we've seen continue to grow over the last couple of years, the Bridge Race, Shamrock Shuffle, and Turkey Trot, some of the programming that we're able to do through the Recreation Department in support with police on the Shamrock Shuffle and Turkey Trot with the Flint Hills Golf Course. Trails, just want to touch on, just as reminded by when Chris Graham was here, just the impact that trails can have on communities within Des Moines County, 10 million estimated annual impact. We're seeking out grants. Any trail that we've constructed here has been generally about 80% funded by grants, if not more, if we can get refunding or otherwise. But we do need that local money, sales tax money usually to use as match to apply for grants. But as mentioned, hopefully in the next year, we'll have the trail connected from Westland Mall to SEC to the hospital through West Burlington, over to the Recplex and Edstone School, down to the airport, and over to Dankwer Park. So that's a big trail connection within our community. And then the future connection would be working through the Force Main project on Main Street and Cascade Bridge, partnering with Public Works to get it down to Main Street at Angular, where it picks up and connects to the riverfront. So having a connected trail is the goal throughout our community.
Be my new favorite thing.
Parks, the breakdown of each department, 1.2 million in total between the 4 operations of Parks and Recreation and the general fund. Not a lot of changes from each of them. Personnel cost is the main driver there. Again, one of the smaller departments, 4.6% of general fund expenses. I think the only primary change of talk was under the Parks Division, 1601-674. They have a rec supplies section that is project dependent. Some years it goes up 5 or 10,000, some years it goes down based on future plan needs, whether it's a drinking fountain or just a replacement of a slide at a park that's identified, or mulch or different things. So other than that, most of the line items are within that couple % increase, if not held the line. So as we talked through the horticulturist, that's not in the budget currently. This budget does not show that being funded, but that is the request for that position within the Parks 1601 Parks Maintenance Division. This just shows all 6 divisions, including golf course and recplex, what that total cost of park and rec is, knowing that golf course and recplex is not part of the general fund allocation, just the total amount that's budgeted for those 6 divisions. On the golf course, and we'll touch on those in recplex, so we try and budget conservatively for revenues on those ends as well. We've seen pretty significant increases over the last 3 or 4 years at the golf course in rounds played and in revenues to get to a point where it's towards the positive just from an operational standpoint. Still not covering all of their capital items. That would obviously be a long-term goal for everything, but those are ones that certainly are assets that bring in more than what their bottom line is to the community, whether it's visitors, local spending, and promoting that quality of life in our community. What can we do outside of work, or why do we want to move here or live here? Some of these are outside of our control as well, weather dependent, impacts revenue. We did have quite a few hot days this past year where we had very little play, but on a whole, it was a very good season for the golf course. One thing I'll touch on in the CIP, trying to attract new golfers. We have the simulator now, where we have a winter simulator, golf simulator league. We do not have a driving range. I think that's one of the key points that we've looked at. We had it previously in the budget. We have it shown, but no funding right now. Still trying to explore opportunities for that, but until we get to a point where there is an option for land to do that, we won't have anything shown in the budget for funding. Mowers, carts are critical to operation, especially condition of the course. People see what the condition is, and that dictates whether they want to come back and play. So having equipment that maintains it in high quality is very critical. So you can see from the actual from FY '24 to '25, 692,000 revenue to 744,000 revenue. Our budgeted number has been trailing that. We don't want to over budget what our revenues are going to be, but we are getting closer each year to that.
Eric, I got a question for you, because I do read ahead. I love to get to the end. On the previous one, it says rounds played are up, season passes slightly down. Yet on
No.
this page, it shows they're up.
No, Brad got me those numbers late, and I
Okay,
didn't update that.
gotcha.
Yep.
That's just a typo?
Yeah, that.
Great, thank you.
I updated the other one and didn't come back to this one.
No worries, got
Yep.
you. Thank you. I'm glad to see they're up.
So rounds are up and season passes are up, which is
Good.
a good thing. We had a trend of the last 4 years, season pass holders going down, but last year it did increase, 24 pass holders. Rounds played up
Outstanding.
a few hundred as well, but you can see from even pre-2020, it wasn't at the numbers that we're at right now. So we've just seen a lot of people turn towards golf, outdoor recreation as something that they want to continue, and something you can do, especially with carts, for quite a long time. It's not something like softball you may age out over time, where it's hard to run around the bases or
Yep.
chase the ball, but golf,
Gotcha.
it's something you can do for a long time. So we've certainly seen that. Fees, as we always see every year, we examine those every year to remain competitive. We don't want to be the highest cost in the area, but we also don't want to be trailing everyone else considerably. The clubhouse updates have been a good thing out there. Being able to do the winter simulator league. Also something we're exploring is outside use during the off-season. We had our staff Christmas party out there, but are there other things that we can do to rent out the space during the off-season? So exploring that as well to generate other revenue. Here just goes through personnel contractual. Larger costs are concession and merchandise. That's kind of a pass-through because we collect back on sales of those. Ag and chemical supplies have gone up the last few years. Kind of been a trend, but not as much as it had in the previous couple of years. Recplex, we had some staff changes in FY '25, retirement. That skewed some of the expenditures. We had 2 staff at one time, and then a retirement that had some payout of benefits and everything. So we had a spike a little bit in expenditures, and also unfortunately had some cancellations of tournaments with having new staff and just the timing of it, not able to backfill. So had a lower revenue than expected, higher expenditure. This year, I think we're trending, revenue's up 25,000 higher than FY '26, so I think we're trending back in the right direction and starting to explore some additional opportunities for usage out at the Recplex beyond just the traditional. What can we do to make sure we're full on weekends, and are there other leagues or things that we could offer out there beyond the traditional softball, volleyball, soccer.
Do we make money off concessions? Is that us? Do we have the ability to use an app to like order from the field and then run up there and get your stuff and
Don't
pay?
currently, yeah, it's something we could explore, but we don't currently.
My thought behind that is sometimes when we're between games and we want to go get a snack, it takes so long to run up there, get a snack, and then make it back that we're like, we don't have time to do it. Otherwise, we would.
Yeah,
And one parent can go or whatever, but I think that if I could order from the field and just go pick my order up, then I know I could scoot up there and scoot back and not stand in line.
yeah.
That I would be more likely to buy
I think
concessions.
a couple things we're looking at, just what are concessions we're offering, how are we most efficient with timing on that? Some
Right.
things take quite a long time that maybe we can discontinue and be efficient. Also, one of the CIP items, whether it occurs this fiscal year or next fiscal year, how do we plan for restroom concession, maybe in another location that could service people that are further away?
Oh, like maybe in the middle?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that would be an option too.
Yeah. So this just shows our league play, had a little dip last year as well. Tournament numbers, as I mentioned, we had 5 cancellations. Hopefully we can get to a point where that's not happening in the future, but still had a strong number of teams through the tournaments that we did have. Facility average over the last 5 years, about 65,000 people come through the gates there. Personnel is a large cost there. Seasonal, again, critical to operation. Contractual, we do have contracted out some of the mowing on the outside of the area just based on reduced staffing and lesser priority than our fields. Concessions, ag supplies are two of the bigger commodities. A concession is one of our biggest revenue makers at the facility. To go through the CIP, these are the FY '27 items. The first one are annual programs. We've had trail maintenance for a number of years. We do have some older sections of trail on West Avenue and other areas that we want to plan for, whether it's maintenance or replacement of small panels. Tree management, it's a new item within the budget. Looking at some of our unmaintained tree lines, ravines, hillsides, making sure that we're ensuring the safety of those trees in those areas. Those have kind of been just out of sight, out of mind a little bit, but we need to make sure we're maintaining those, that they're not falling on roadways or adjacent properties, and trying to get a plan for addressing some of those. And we have Bonds Hollow and some of those larger ravines that we need to maintain as well. And then sidewalk repair program within our park system. They maintain all the sidewalks within the parks, but it's also beyond those. They remove snow from right-of-ways or areas that are city-owned properties, and want to make sure that those sidewalks, as if we're asking the community to upgrade their sidewalks, that ours are accessible and in good condition as well. And we have a lot of them within our system. And then the equipment, large one there's the bucket truck for forestry and chipper. Those are longer term, 20-year, 15-year pieces of equipment. And then the improvement projects. Has seen the Park and Rec Master Plan, 75,000 is the allocation for the park plan. That's not in the budget alone. I just wanted to highlight that that's part of that comp plan update. North Hill Playground was cut from last year's budget. Do have additional funding through the Bridge Race, Shamrock Shuffle going towards that. Restroom remodel in Crapo. We did the one in Dankward a few years ago, and has fared very well. This one has seen some cosmetic, but also some functional issues in that restroom that need to be fixed. Parks building design, this is an allocation to get to a point, what is a cost, a firm cost, what is a design that meets the needs of the Park and Forestry Division, be able to plan for that to get to a point where we know what the actual cost is. We have a number in the budget. We don't know if that's exactly accurate, but this gets us to be able to design something that meets the needs and meets the cost for budgeting purposes. Crapo fountain repairs, we saw some of that last year. We had some vandalism, but it also is a very old structure, being able to maintain that. Nancy Navy Park was in the budget last year, carrying that forward and adding the funding to be able to do some minimal improvements there. Some of the paving, hardscape, landscape there to make it more usable. The train painting at the depot, this is one the Riverside, our Riverfront Advisory Committee recommended to move forward. That was a priority for them to, it was in the budget last year, and I think FY '28 or '9, it is in the condition they recommended to move to '27. And then the trail connection, again, shown at 1.25 million. It's 150,000 of local match carried forward from last year, the rest being grant funds. There's no new dollars for that project. Golf course, a mower and a tractor, those are both cut from last year's budget. Still a high need, probably even more so now than last year. And then maintaining what we have, the shed roof there at the golf course, getting that repaired. Recplex has a few projects here. We've already had some discussion. There may be some items there that need to move back a year, just based on available funding. So we'll continue to have that. But some of the projects we're looking at, the batting cage has really extended beyond its useful life. We get very little play there, and we've had a lot of maintenance on it. Looking to remove that. In the following year budget, have some batting tunnels that can be used for practice or league teams, possibly rent it out, but won't have that ongoing mechanical maintenance. Combo volleyball field lighting, a couple years ago, we did the 3 infields to LED, had a lot of good comments from that. Hopefully reduce some of the costs, but the combo field and the volleyball are the 2 remaining ones to do.
How
in
much
that.
did that save, going to LED?
It's a tough one because we've seen our costs go up because of rising utility costs. I'll try and get a number
Well, I
for you on
noticed
that.
it in
but-
your notes there, 40K.
What's that?
I thought I saw it in the program, 40K. Where was it? I don't want to derail you, I just thought it was important to note that we possibly save, under contractual lights, power, sewer, 40K reduced from the LED lights, that's a reduction in expense?
That was an initial reduction, but I think
Okay,
we've seen
sorry.
some cost increase just based on utility
Okay,
rates.
sorry, I misread that.
Yeah. Playground replacement, that's the playground up by the ball fields that, I think regardless, it's gonna have to be removed this year. It's just in such poor, unsafe condition. We have to either remove it and replace it, or at least remove it. Clubhouse upgrades, looking at a 26-year-old facility, flooring, some of the concessions, how can we make more efficient, some electrical there, with the umpire room, trying to make that more efficient and usable, similar to the golf course, but some of it's cosmetic as well, flooring, tables, chairs. New concession restroom, this was in last year's budget, maybe something we push towards FY '28 as well. That's down by where the batting cages are, making that more usable area where it's just a grab-and-go type facility, but also having some restrooms. We have 2 porta potties down there now that aren't the most efficient or greatest to use, and this would make it more permanent, small restroom there. Some of the things that these accomplish, just protecting our current assets, supporting community pride, ensuring access to our park system, trying to be proactive and have planned investments that in the long term hopefully save money and strengthen our quality of life. But these are the items within FY '27. Future items in the 5-year CIP from '28 through '31. And forestry, small bucket truck in '28 is the bigger item there, and a stump grinder in '31. You see the tree management program in out years, trying to maintain some of those natural areas. In FY '28, the parks maintenance building, right now it's shown at $3 million, just based on the square foot price when we met with Klingner just to get some ballparks. That was an estimate. Perkins Park Playground is a larger one that has quite a few different revenues or sources of funding that go into it. Madison Avenue Trail at 750, that's largely a grant, again, having a 20% local match. And then the Aquatic Center has been in there since FY '24, I think, or '23. We first put that in there at 5.5 million. It keeps getting a year closer every year, but hopefully through our feasibility study, we'll be able to identify, based on the community needs and council input of what it is, what is that actual cost, and then go through that process to see if the community supports it. We do have some larger projects in out years. Some of them are unfunded, but that's where that park master plan would come into play. Whether it's a playground or Lake Starker or mini pitch basketball court. Even in the 10-year, we have the band shell and Riverside Park, the University of Iowa students presented on a South Riverside Park area. We don't have a park on the north side of town, north of North Hill Park. Just kind of identifying what are some priorities for our community through that planning process. Golf course, largely equipment, irrigation upgrades, golf carts. I mean, that's really the crux of what the golf course needs. Looking at doing, in the longer term, some cart path paving. Last year, we had talked about doing a 10,000 every year and putting that into larger pots over a 3 or 4 year period where we can accomplish more instead of having smaller scale projects. So that'll show up within that. And then the Recplex, looks like a lot in FY '28. That'll probably have to go through that process of what's priority and maybe move stuff around. But especially looking at that batting cage area, we've talked about a community playground. We don't have a playground west of Perkins Park really either. Having one that's outside of the fence that people could come to that are using the trail or park at the Recplex and have an open playground outside of the fenced area, batting cage tunnels. And then in the future, tractor, the driveway extension on the west side, we've tried to plan for that every 5 years, doing it a little bit more. Irrigation upgrades. At some point, the backstop conversion, that's the fencing, the chain link fencing around the infields of the 3 primary fields there is starting to show wear and tear and a lot of patching, making sure that it's a safe space for people come to watch the games there. So just a recap or summary, just what funding for recreation is, just an investment in Burlington's future. Certainly affects the public health and safety of our community. These are city-owned assets. We want to make sure that we're replacing them and maintaining them in a timely manner where they aren't safety hazards or more costly down the road. Certainly without consistent investment, we see can see decline. The Dankworth Playground probably was a few years past, but we also got a project that was very beneficial to the community with that. So we certainly see Parks and Recreation not as a luxury, but as a core public infrastructure that serves the entire community and everyone can go out and enjoy, especially the parks within our community that people take a lot of pride in. So with that, any questions?
Well, I will just note you took Brittany's 10 minutes that she stole from you and added 15 to it.
I'm a little hurt, Eric, that you put a picture up of the bridge race and I'm not in it.
That was the Greater Burlington Partnership Community Guide. Have to ask them about
Yeah.
that.
He was illustrating what other organizations spotlight
My
for
friend
us.
Jesse
There's-
has run in that race every year since
Need to talk
2018.
to them.
Yeah, needs to. Yeah.
I hope they're listening.
Questions, comments? Do you guys want to take a 5-minute break and then let Mr. Bird wrap up, or you want to press on?
I need to stand up.
Okay, 5-minute break.